Okay, in this video we are discussing why I'm actually looking forward to the 2022 Women's Euros hosted here in England, where I live. Now, before we go into depth into the details and the nitty-gritty of why I'm looking forward to it, you have to treat women's football, or soccer if you're from North America or Australia, completely differently to other sports where women play internationally and at domestic level, like rugby union, rugby league and cricket. There are all variations in those team sports. They actually tinker the rules to suit the physicality and the skill level and the ability, which is generally different in most cases. So there are rule variations which work very, very well with the women's equivalent of those sports. The same is not to be said for football or soccer if you're American, which is where a lot of the criticism comes from, especially with the lower quality, the lower skill level and the lesser physicality. And the bigger gap between the top teams and the lower ranked teams, the quality gap is bigger. There is a clear difference in quality. So you have to bear that in mind. So when I look at women's football, I do basically treat it as a separate sport, but I do find it very, very entertaining. There's not a lot of diving in it. The tackling is far more brutal. If you've actually watched any women's football, you will see that they will go in very robust, physical, challenging. You don't see that a lot in domestic club games or internationals with men's football. There's a lot of diving, there's a lot of rolling around. Neymar, for example, being the prima donna of prima donnas. Women's game, diving is really frowned upon and it's more regularly booked, so players just don't do it. But why I'm looking forward to it, firstly, England are hosting. Secondly, England are one of the favourites. Now, we have seen a massive growth in the women's game, not just in England, but across Europe over the last few years. It's been good growth. The viewing figures back that up. The fact that more leagues are going professional back that up, which is a positive. This is also going to have a positive impact on the women's game, I have no doubt. Also, it's good to see Northern Ireland as one of the home nations also qualified, which is a positive, considering that Northern Ireland, when it comes to sport, is lagging behind the other home nations with player development, player recruitment. And generally, Northern Ireland is the most economically deprived area of the UK in a sense. It's the poorest region of the UK. It's the poorest of the four home nations. So there is less money available for the Football Association of Northern Ireland, which is a concern. But they've qualified, so fair play to them. And they're in the same group as England, which is fantastic as well. That looks like it's going to be a great matchup. Good fun. I mean, they go in as underdogs. England are favourites for that. The build-up to the tournament, I've seen a lot of advertising campaigns. Pepsi are sponsoring the England team. There's a lot of advertising campaign there. A lot of positive advertising. And the fact they are using stadiums like Old Trafford and Bramall Lane and the Amex and St Mary's, big Premier League and Championship stadiums, is a massive plus point. They're also using Wembley for the final, which is fantastic. And this is going a long way for the FA's bid to get the Euros for the men in 2028. This is a good test case saying that we can still put on big tournaments, we can still organise it, which is fantastic. But I actually enjoy watching women's football. I find it more refreshing to watch because there is that lack of rolling around, diving and cheating. The tackling is like a throwback to 20, 30 years ago when tackling was an art form. Yes, there is still a question mark over some of the quality of goalkeeping, fitness, and obviously tactics and skill level. It is different. Treat it as a separate sport. Where I think football have got it wrong is they have exactly the same rules for the women's game as well as the men's, and that lies with FIFA, that lies with UEFA and the other federations around the world. As I say, other sports like rugby union, like rugby league and cricket have rule variations to suit the skill set and the physicality that is different in the women's version of the game compared to the men's, and it works really, really well. But I'm hoping this has a positive impact because surveys have actually shown over many, many years, especially in developed Western nations like Europe and North America, that female sporting participation abruptly drops off a cliff post-education. Post-education, between the ages of 16 and 25, depending if you go to secondary or tertiary or university education, women's participation drops off a cliff massively. The same can be said for men's, but the drop-off is a lot less. So this could go a long way to arrest that drop-off and actually say that you can have an opportunity to be a professional athlete in a professional sport, and may encourage more women and girls to keep playing at amateur, grassroots, recreationally, or find that pathway professionally and earn a career out of it. So that's what I hope this tournament and other tournaments like it, like the Women's World Cup, achieve. We saw the Women's World Cup in 2019 in France, really positive crowd numbers, and actually, to be fair, apart from Thailand, the quality of games was actually pretty good. Obviously, the US, the team everyone loves to hate, won, which is frustrating, but guess what? They're not a Euro nation, so we don't have that problem. And the positivity surrounding the tournament going in has been a lot of positive marketing, and this is on the back of growing viewership on TV, growing wealth within the game, more sponsorship, more money, more leagues turning professional. So we've got, looking at those groups, they all look very, very competitive. I've done my preview for the tournament. The one criticism I have of the tournament is using the Leeds Sports Village and the Man City Academy Stadium. They are operating with reduced capacities, and players have come out and actually been very, very critical of the choice of those two stadiums. Also, the lack of representation of stadiums like, let's say, Aston Villa in Birmingham, for example, or St James's Park in Newcastle, that lack of North East and Midland representation for where stadiums are located has also been criticised. So no tournament's perfect. We all know this. But hopefully, we're looking forward to a very, very good tournament. England kick off against Austria tonight, as I'm recording this video, at 8 o'clock at Old Trafford. And ticket sales have been really good as well, by the way, and very fairly priced. So the men's game could take a lot of note from the pricing to encourage more families to go to these events, rather than pricing out fans, especially with the cost of living crisis. The ticket in pricing between £5 and £20 UK currency is actually pretty good. Yes, there's a lot of discounted tickets and a lot of free tickets given out to schools, and there's been that criticism from sports fans of more predominantly male sports, saying, oh, look, they're trying to give the tickets away. But it's generally to encourage those kids from poorer backgrounds to attend, more families to attend, make it more a family-friendly orientated competition. Look at the criticism UEFA's faced over Champions League finals, Europa League finals, and this is the Europa Conference League final for ticket allocation. UEFA's been heavily criticised. FIFA's been heavily criticised over World Cup ticketing allocation and ticketing prices. So this is a positive step by UEFA to try and arrest that kind of negativity. Look at the Qatar World Cup and all the negativity and criticism of awarding the tournament to Qatar at the end of the year for the men. So hopefully we see some positives from this in that regard as well, where UEFA and FIFA sort of learn some lessons which can be attributed to the more pronounced male competitions. But yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. I think it's a positive for the women's game. Home of football, finals at Wembley, which is fantastic, and they're using stadiums like Old Trafford, which 10 years ago would be unheard of. And until about 4 or 5 years ago, they were using the smaller, lower league stadiums. We're using Premier League and Championship stadiums for this tournament, which is a fantastic effort by the organisers. One of my work colleagues, his partner, she's working on the tournament, and down at St Mary's and the Amex, they're fantastic stadiums. They've hosted internationals before in a variety of sports, including rugby union and football before as well. They are fantastic facilities. All the facilities they're using are really really proper modern facilities, apart from Old Trafford, which needs a lot of work doing to it. But apart from Old Trafford, all those stadiums being used are less than 20 years old. That is also a really good advert when we're trying to bid for the 2028 Euros for the men's game. We've already got the sporting infrastructure in place. So yeah, there you go. So thank you very much for watching. Place your thoughts on it if you're going to watch the tournament, if you're not going to watch the tournament. But I'm hoping for a great tournament. I think England are going to be great hosts, and they are now one of the favourites going in, which they weren't 3-4 weeks ago. Then the build-up friendlies, they battered the opposition comfortably. They battered the holders of the Netherlands 5-1. They couldn't cope defensively, and that was with their full squad out. I know it's a friendly, but they battered them 5-1 with ease. So yeah, thumbs up. Let's see what happens. But thank you very much for watching, and I'll have some more content for you very, very soon.